I want to talk today about what I think of as the urge for minimalism and how it feels like maybe it's going to be the answer for a lot of my AuDHD problems. But I came across a really great thread on Mastodon, which I'll share the whole thread. And in particular, it was talking about two elements of minimalism that are problematic potentially. Minimalism as like a lifestyle, not as an artistic or architectural movement. What I've found personally is that I feel like minimalism is going to solve two of my what I perceive as main problems. One is that I am very visually oriented. So I both need visual cues in order to remember to do things. And if my environment is messy, it can be very stressful for me. And it can be hard to get things done. Not because the mess like emotionally bothers me, like there's stuff around me on the floor in my office right now, that's fine. But if I have things out that I feel like I need to respond to, I talked about this a lot in the whack-a-mole episode, I will respond to that thing. I will want to respond to that thing. And then I think another piece here too is like autistic urge for control and lining things up. And I really enjoy organizing and having things be tidy and in their own place and have their own place. So all of that comes together. Oh, and also like losing stuff as an ADHD, or like I just will lose things all the time. And it's very annoying to lose important things. So what I've found is that one of the things they were talking about in this thread is basically the people who are really pushing minimalism as a lifestyle, they're usually wealthy, relatively, or, well off enough to be able to replace the things that they have gotten rid of. So they can get rid of something and just buy a new one. And then they also were talking about how that's wasteful and, not environmentally friendly. When I was going through my most extreme minimalism phase, I can't remember if I've mentioned this before on the podcast, that there was a point where I didn't own any towels. I was using a t-shirt to dry off after the shower, also just vigorously wiping the water off myself before toweling off. So that was fairly extreme. But that was when I was trying to manage ADHD directly. Like I knew I was ADHD. And I was trying to figure out how to manage that without support or medication. For me, getting rid of a bunch of stuff and having only the things I needed and have them visually displayed in such a way that they were easy for me to see and remember, that helped with that problem. But I did not have the money to replace things. So when I would come up against oh shit, I should not have thrown that thing away. I wish I hadn't thrown that or given it away. I was often, giving things back to the thrift store or to friends. I mean, I was not financially stable enough for that to make sense. And as a friend of mine said recently, there's a reason that a lot of the hoarders are poor people, because you just keep things. Or in, say, my mom's case, like her parents grew up in the Depression and were rural farmers. So you could say they were hoarders, but also they were just poor farmers, and it made sense for them to keep things, and they had the space to keep things. One of the bits I wanted to quote from this thread. So what does this mean for most of us? Don't feel bad that you have stuff. For almost everyone reading this, you're not a hoarder, you just have possessions, and chances are they just aren't stored well. Rather than binning stuff, you are probably better off looking at ways to better organize them. And I think they mean binning in the throwing away British sense of the word. Investing some time and effort into some storage crates or organization items is likely to be far more beneficial to you than throwing stuff out that you may later regret. I absolutely love this idea of focusing on organizing over just getting rid of stuff and try to minimize as much as possible. A good example for me right now is I have gotten back into knitting, crocheting, and sewing all in a sort of short span of time. And while I'm generally not someone who will buy a ton of craft items that I'm not actually using, like I'm getting through the yarn, I'm using up the yarn, I actually have. This is a great example. I found these semi-transparent colorful bins at the thrift store for $1 each. I bought all of them that they had, which was like 5, I think. And this has one knitting project in it. So this has one sweater that I'm working on. It has the instructions, some of the instructions printed out with a color guide on it because it's a lot of colors. It has all the tools I need, all the yarn I need in one box. Now I can carry this box around with me. So that's a good example for me of something I was already working on before I saw this thread, and kind of was reminded of, oh, right, part of why I have the minimalist urge, the urge to get rid of things, clear things out, is because I actually want to use what I have. And I want my physical space to be organized well enough that I can tidy up without too much work. And the culture has this model for us, which is just get rid of everything you're not using or that doesn't spark joy or whatever. But For example, for me, having, one skein of yarn, a small skein in like colors that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with because it's not enough to make anything with by itself, I can hang on to those, and make a color blocked blanket later, right? Or I can bring in another color in something else later as long as it's the same kind of yarn. And I don't want to do that endlessly, but like I have one little drawer. Actually, I think you can kind of see it in the video too. Those little bottom drawers. One of those is kind of the rando yarn bits. So that's fine. If that was like 6 large boxes, yeah, I would probably want to pare down or focus on a project to get rid of some scrap yarn or whatever. But a lot of this for me personally is more about waste as well. Like I feel really bad getting rid of things in a way, like if I donate something that I really don't think is going to get used, for example, I feel guilty about that. And I think it's fine. Like, I don't think I need to personally feel guilty for every item of trash that I personally create. And if I know that I actually will probably get around to using something, and this, I guess this brings in another big topic for ADHDers is, well, what if I never actually finish things? What if, like me right now, I actually have a number of in-process projects, like one, all the pieces are made and I just need to sew them together. But when I first started sewing, it wasn't coming together well and I need to like really focus on it. And I just haven't taken that time yet. I'm going to finish it. But if you don't have that trust in yourself that you're going to finish things because of your history, which is very reasonable. And also, I don't think it's important to finish everything. I don't even think that's a good goal. The reason I've been knitting and crocheting so much is because the process of doing it feels so good to me. So yes, I'm making some things. Yes, I will use them. Yes, I'll probably end up giving some away because I'm making too many things and I don't need them all. But the point for me is to do the making. That's what feels good to me. And that's what I want to set up my space to allow myself to do. So what I have now is like 8 little boxes, small boxes or bins that are project boxes that have everything in them for one project. One of which, for example, is a cool coloring book I was working through with like all the colors I was using for some particular thing. So like that's all in one bin together. So it's easy for me to grab those. One other little one I wanted to share after reading this thread and really thinking about it again, I was like, oh, right. I've been thinking about trying to solve a few little problems for myself with organization. So I have this, I can't really pull it out, but it's a small thing with 3 plastic drawers in it, like little transparent thing on my desk. And I used to just have office supplies in that, which made sense because I wanted to access them. They're right there. But what I'm doing now with it is the top drawer is for interest items, things that are great sensory items for me right now, things I'm really enjoying or things that I'm interested in. And one of them is just like this cool little piece of string I found that I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I'll actually do anything with this, but I'm enjoying it right now. So that's the interest drawer. The next drawer is stuff that goes in my bag commonly, like items that might go in my backpack or bag or purse at some point. And therefore I don't want to lose track of them. And that's the kind of thing I used to keep in like an open bucket. So, keys, wallet, phone type items. And being able to put them in a drawer is nice because sometimes there's items that I may need for some times, but not other times. And I used to try to always organize those within the bag. So anyway, that's just a nice place to dump things that otherwise would just be laying around on my desk or in like an open container. And then the third one is for little art or office supplies that I'm currently really enjoying. So again, the focus for this, for me, is actively using, genuinely enjoying or interested in. That's what I'm trying to kind of put in my visual field when I'm sitting at my desk here. So another little one that came up as I was doing this is I have some washi tape, that like thin tape that you can use for, people use it for bullet journaling in particular. And I had a little notebook cover thing that was fraying and I thought I was going to have to get rid of it, but I really like it. And I was like, I don't want it to be trash. So I just put washi tape all the way around the edges to like hold the edges down and like get that fraying cloth. And I also used washi tape to, in layers, put strips around small cardboard boxes for some of my spaces so that I have like a pretty box to put things in, but that's the right size. And that's still not too precious. I can still throw that away if I need to. I don't need to go buy, a ton of small plastic. I have plenty of small plastic boxes, but sometimes I have like a really particular size need, and then I'm wrapping that in washi tape to make it pretty and not just look like I have a bunch of cardboard boxes shoved in there. And this is the part that is a little bit annoying to me about interfacing with my own brain around this, which is that my brain wants it to be pretty or attractive, and my brain wants it to not look like trash. So once a space starts to look or feel messy or feel like there's a lot of trash in it, like plastic bags, cardboard boxes, etc. It can reach this point where it's really hard for me to engage with the space. It's hard for me to be creative in that space, which is a trouble if, it's my workspace. If it's my bedroom, again, it can maybe affect sleep if it's reminding me of things I want to do or getting me thinking about projects. And my main tool previously for making the space attractive was just to try to clear stuff out, get rid of stuff, be more minimalistic, basically. So I really like this. Ooh, now I can focus on organizing in this way that makes my brain happy, lining things up, I guess lining things up is probably the main urge there, autistically. And I've gotten a lot of energy from this, which is pretty fun, honestly. I've really been doing a lot of deep cleaning, deep organizing, and I'm still a work in progress in this space. But I think when it's done, part of what I'm hoping for and looking for, like what success will feel like for me, is feeling like I have easy access to the artistic, creative, and fun items that I really want to use. And like books and stuff that I really want to read. I mean, I've got bookshelves, right? But I'm really thinking about how can I arrange things in a way that my brain will find interesting and literally attractive in the sense of me being attracted to. So I'll link that full thread if you want to read that person's whole theory. I thought they put it together well, and there's some interesting comments. And the last thing I want to say, because I did that aggressive minimalism thing, it did not cure my ADHD, right? It's not going to fix all your problems. It helped with certain things, but it also created other stresses. So if you have this, what I think of as minimalistic urge that I have to get rid of things, only have the things that I'm absolutely using or really enjoy, that whole thing, just remember that even if you enact that perfectly, it's still probably not going to do what you're hoping it's going to do. So thinking about your real goals instead of just thinking, oh, I'll do this process and then that will magically make things all better at the end, having a different kind of goal in mind or idea in mind of what you want to use your space for, how you want to use your items, and what you want to have accessible to you. Oh yeah, one other little fun thing. So I have kind of a little, I don't know if I would call it an altar, but a space with some cute little things and candles and stuff. And I have more stuff for that space than I can actually use. So I have the rest of it in a little bin, and then I swap it out periodically. So again, I'm kind of refreshing for like interest, attractiveness, what I feel like is interesting or calming to kind of like give me that little bit of dopamine or whatever. And something I used to do that was similar that might be helpful for some folks is, I think for ADHD in particular, it can be really helpful to hide some of your stuff. That's weird, but I had a little box that I thought of as my shopping box, but it was my stuff. I was just putting some stuff in there that I wasn't using super actively, but that I didn't want to get rid of. This is when I was like healing from the aggressive minimalism phase. And that has really helped me to buy less or shop less, be interested in shopping less, because sometimes my brain wants novelty visually or a new thing or an interesting textured thing if it's like my fidget toys. And having a place where I can put some stuff away and not look at it means that when I go look at it again, sometimes my brain's like, "Ooh, yeah, this fidget toy is interesting again." So that can be another way to incorporate all of what I'm talking about and, hopefully shop less, because I didn't get into it a lot, but the ecological impact of how we live, buying cheap things that break that we throw away, obviously not great. And something I've been trying to lean into as I've been more financially stable as my late 30s now is buying fewer, nicer things. And I know that's hard because a lot of even good, KitchenAid started being shitty recently. Like that sucks. They just started using worse parts and like plastic parts that used to be metal, etc. Not going to get into that, but like a lot of companies are doing that, right? They're cutting corners, they're using worse materials. That sucks. So I'm not saying this is easy, and I'm not saying you should do this. I'm just saying it's been more closely aligned with my values to buy fewer things that last for longer. I have a pair of nail clippers I have that are literally 20 years old. They are perfect. They are the best nail clippers. I've tried other ones and I'm just like, oh, these just aren't as good, but they were just like made in the US. I might have even had 25 years, honestly. They're just perfect. So, I shop at thrift stores. I get used stuff from other people. I've got a Rolodex from somebody. I've gotten some cool used stuff from people. And that's really what I've been trying to lean into. Living in a big city, obviously, that's easier. But yeah, I'm finding I'm having a healthier relationship with my objects now. So hopefully some of these ideas were helpful for you. And I'll talk to you next week.